Taken from the book Stories and Tales of Therianor. The Council of Kings. Dark times covered Therianor when the call reached all the kings. I must mention that for almost a year the sky preserved the dark traces caused by the magic of the arcana, so much so that people avoided looking at the sky, as if those dark steely remembered the misfortune that occurred, although of course, it did not take much effort to look back at the events. Too many were the victims. The price was too high. When I was appointed as a chronicler and scribe of the council, I took it as a great opportunity. Later I would realize that I had been sentenced, because my work was of such importance that no word could come out of my mouth about what was mentioned in the council. For the same reason, I later learned that staying alive would be more difficult for them than deciding on my death. Even I would have thought about their position myself. But I wanted to live. I wanted it too much. With all my might. The night was quite late when they knocked on the door of this humble monk. To my surprise, the high priest and the shadow of the queen were visiting me. Not even in my wildest dreams would I have thought such a thing. Perhaps they thought that my insignificant position in the order and that I did not have any family would facilitate my future sentence. Of course, they were wrong. That is why I leave this chronicle about the council, so that when someone finds it they know that not everything is what it seems. Neither the kings, nor the almost extinct magicians. No one thought that the result of the council would be what it had. What brings you to my rooms tonight? If I may ask, I let my visitors pass without much trouble. The high priest stepped forward and took a seat on the only bench in my little room. Nigrel, Therianor's fate is right now swinging on the edge of a sword. You must know, too many are the terrible deeds that have stained the last times. It is enough to go around the city to realize, we are on the verge of self-destruction. I tried to avoid the obvious, if you say so, my lord. The shadow stared at me from the door as he closed it slowly. No need for such formality, monk. We have a task for you. An important task for all of Therianor. The kings must meet in the greatest possible secrecy. Chaos reigns wherever one looks, and there are not enough guards to keep control of the cities. You know that the Great Night, the Oblivion, left all the kingdoms with enormous losses of wealth and especially of men. In cities and towns they kill each other for food. Blood runs through the streets of the cities and the danger at night is enormous. No one dares to go out once the sun has set, and this is helping as guilds of thieves and criminals start to spring up everywhere. We really can't cope with everything that needs to be done. The high priest continued, it is time to take the reins of all Therianor. We cannot allow chaos to continue to settle in our cities, but this peace must come from above, from an absolute and concerted control by all those who hold positions of power. None can be subtracted if we want to eradicate at once all the evils that threaten us. The shadow turned to me, his silver eyes fixed on mine like pointed arrows and seemed to travel my soul in a second. I will not deny that I felt fear. His cold gaze imbued me with a terrible and desolate fear. There are not many options, Nigrel. If someone finds out what is about to happen, disasters could increase and become uncontrollable. The thieves' guilds will want to avoid it at all costs. Therefore we must act quickly and stealthily. Excuse my ignorance, but I don't see how I could be of use to you. After all, I'm just a simple monk and I've only dedicated my life to writing about the gods and to prayer. The high priest spoke up, when the call is made it is our duty to answer it. You know it well, I agreed. After all, I could not refuse. It was my duty as a monk to serve the high priest. That was the true purpose of my monasticism, for that and to unveil the mystery of the ancient gods, the true ones. The high priest continued, your role in all this is paramount. You must travel the kingdoms of Therianor with letters for each of the kings. It will contain the secret place where we will meet to decide the fate of Therianor. In the most absolute secretly you will leave to these parts, and you will leave with the same secrecy the invitation to each king and queen. Then you will return to Aragmador to receive your next instruction. You will leave at dawn. First you will go to Drugil, then to Oma, Hybrian, Librian, Marianar and Trandes, Ilvanar and Paleri. Kragner and Nimriadil, all their lords will receive your visit, without exception. I lowered my head for a few seconds. It was difficult to believe that such an undertaking was entrusted to someone like me, a complete stranger, a simple monk. I feared, for my life above all. Between the four walls of my room I was happy and the tranquility comforted me. The safety of her confined space made me feel better, even if outside her the world fell apart. The shadow of the queen looked at me again so threateningly that I could not lift my head and said, "I will send 2 of my men with you. They will protect you no matter the consequences. Their lives depend on the success of this, and yours too, don't forget." Nobody can be so stupid as not to be able to deliver a few simple letters, at least I hope so. He turned to leave. Good things can be drawn from this. Engage in it and you will see that you are more than a simple monk. At dawn you must leave. Prepare your things. They will come looking for you. Good luck. That said, the queen's shadow literally disappeared into darkness. The high priest also left without adding much more than words of encouragement, although the truth was, it was impossible to reconstruct myself at that time. Not even if the words came from the gods themselves could someone have lifted me, but there I was, getting up from my rooms to pack my few belongings and begin this journey. Many times later, I thought that the fact of having always been an obedient monk had gotten me used to it. I could no longer escape an order, so my body just moved and in the blink of an eye I already had everything packed and ready to go. All this I leave it consigned in this chronicle, so that you know that insignificant people like me can also move important threads in the history of their worlds. Here I am, a simple ordinary monk who has to go to the great palaces of Therianor and stand up to their kings and queens carrying a message so transcendental that only they can know it. This by itself is too much to believe, but it is also usually the kind of tasks of a servile man, an ordinary person, but who would end up leaving this message for everyone, so that everyone knows what the kings thought, when it was fully forged secret what would be known by all as the Manual of Chains, the most efficient and also the most cruel way to bring peace and balance to Therianor, which during those days was torn between the chaos caused by the thieves' guilds and the abuse of the little nobles who struggled to acquire power. This is Therianor in these black days, when whoever looked at the sky could see a black cloud over him, an omen perhaps, of all the blood that would be shed on the streets and fields of the cities, so that you know how everything was forged. This, to blame or exonerate those who deem it pertinent, is that I leave this secret chronicle, which I will call Secret Chronicle of the Council of Kings. Nigrel, monk of the ancient gods and chronicler of the Council of Kings of the Cardinal Points.
If you like our work, do not forget to like it and subscribe to receive notifications of our next stories. If you want to support our editorial project, you can follow us on Patreon, where you will find our project in more details, or support directly through Flow in the description links.